Just About Sailing, October 2021. This one is all about two things. First of all, a lot of people were interested when I was doing the welding with the HDPE, and I wanted to make a water tank, and I kind of backed off that a little bit because although it worked well, it didn't work brilliantly, and I wanted it to work brilliantly and see if it gave me enough confidence to do the waste tank, to do the black water tank, which it really hasn't. So I've done a little bit of welding again, and I'll show you that, to do with modifying the tank that I did buy. There is going to be some plastic welding coming up soon because I want to make a grey water tank, and I'm slightly less nervous about grey water spilling out into the bilge than I am about black water spilling out into the boat. So I'll cover that. And the second thing is, in redoing my galley, I got rid of the oven. But I still do want to bake stuff, so I've got one of those Omnia, I think it's called, oven things, and I did a test on it. So as I say, not a huge amount of content this week. In fact, at one point I wasn't even sure if a video would come out, but I've just edited it together and now I'm doing this introduction. It has been the most horrendous week for reasons which are absolutely got nothing to do with back or my health at all, although it hasn't helped that. I have another child, as well as Lucy, about the same as he's slightly older, with very, very specific and special needs, and the systems that are there to protect him have fallen down really to the point of illegality this week. It's affected him and lots of other people. I'm not sure if I'm going to talk about that in the future, but I might do a specific video on that. At the moment I'm too cross and angry to actually go through it, and I don't often share this type of stuff, but you share the joys of what I do with one of my delightful children, so maybe I need to share the other side. Let me know in the comments if you think I should keep just zipped up on that, or if that's something that you think I should use this as a forum to talk about. And if I do, I'd probably just do one specific video, nothing to do with sailing. Anyway, let's get on to brighter things. Let's look at some plastic welding and let's look at some baking, and you'll notice I have pretty much the same attitude to both. So here we go. Right, remember this? I bought it ages ago, and the problem with it was that with the attachment, and I'm not even sure this is the right one, that comes with it, it stands too high. I was thinking of putting it in and just putting this cap on it and then filling it from inside the boat, and then I decided no, I was going to make an HDPE one, and I started to weld it up, but I'm not confident enough with the one that I've made, so I'm going to redo it. But in the meantime, just to get things sorted out more quickly, I'm going to cut that down to its absolute minimum height so I can get something on it, and I'm actually going to weld this in place on the inspection plate and not use this. I don't know if that makes sense, but this will do as a temporary measure. The other thing is, with the HDPE one I made, I want to make it bigger. I didn't make it as tall or as voluminous as I possibly could have done, so there's no point in making something and then not getting the best out of it. So this is very much a temporary fix, but I'm bursting to use the plastic welding gear again, and Lucy wants to go. So yes she does. You can't hear that because of the mic that I've got, but she said yes she does. So I might even video some of that, including the ambulance arriving. Don't laugh, it could happen. Right, luck plays a part. This is the inspection. Oh, actually, I don't know if you can see this. This is the inspection plate, and what I was going to do right, so this is the inspection plate, and that's the, what do you call this, dip hose thing. What I was going to do was cut this off and push this through so that it only stuck out a tiny little bit. But there is actually another recess already half cut with a center point, which means, and it's about the right size, which means I can drill this through, really lower this, weld it in, and then I still have this filler for, I don't know, emergencies or filling from an internal. I don't know why I need it, but it's nice not to have to butcher it too much. So let's go ahead and drill that and see what happens. Good framing this. Shall I just move that there a little bit? Yeah. Taylor Swift was on the Brits last night, and we might have a Taylor Swift fan on the video. Yeah. Oh, there's a Swift. They're great, aren't they? There are loads of swifts around here, which means there's lots of insects, which is healthy, which is good. Right, it's a long time since I've done this. I'm going to tack it on this side and then weld it from the other side. I tried to use some different coloured stuff. I'd used the white stuff before, which was nearer to the black. But I don't know if it was just me, because I haven't done it for ages, but it kind of got a bit burnt. So I'm going to stick to the white stuff. It doesn't matter if it's not colour matched. So this is going to get tacked in place. And this is literally to hold, just to hold it, whilst I do the other side. Right, this is not great, as you can see, and I've gone a little bit into, this is where the O-ring goes around there. There was a sort of a cutout there, that's why I tried filling it in with the other stuff. But this literally is to get it tacked, and it's actually quite solid even just tacked like that. You know, that's not coming up. But there's quite a gap here, so I'm literally just going to fill that up, and quantity is going to be my watchword here, and then I think and believe that that distance there is then going to be all right, but we will soon find out. Again, not the neatest weld in the world, but there's certainly enough stuck around there, and I really melted that in, and then I squished it in with the shoe thing. I could obviously sand that off and make it a lot neater, but it's never going to be neat because, as I say, it's kind of the wrong colour. But what I'm going to do now, just belt and braces, is where I did the tack weld underneath, which is actually surprisingly good. I'll just run around that with probably a single piece of HDPE, and then try it out and see if my theory works. As I think I said before once, I don't really like the idea of this tank not being level. But if it is level, that's not quite enough, or it's very tight. So there's no harm actually in, I think, getting it to just follow the hull. You can see where the that's where the cold water comes in, and that's where the filler is slightly at an angle. I haven't screwed those down, and then there's a breather pipe that comes up there. So the good thing about this is that when I just line it up with screw holes, have I done this right? Ooh. Good question. Yeah, I have done it right. I just I couldn't find the screw holes. I haven't got the O-ring in there at the moment. So the good news about this is that when I push it forward, because I can push it right forward to there's just about enough room to get onto that filler cap. I'll probably move it back a tiny little bit. So it's only 100 litres. Which is a bit less than the tank that I made, but it's plenty because I've had two of those collapsible bag things. One of them was 100 and one of them was 150. That's not too bad. And I have plenty of room up here to store other things. Ignore that wiring. That's for the the anchor windlass, which is going to get tidied up when I sort of finalise that. And I also have a massive amount of space at the back where I could either carry more water or use for tools and general things, and that's closer to the middle of the boat, so that might be a good place to keep all my heavy sort of tools and so on. So in the end, that's worked out fine. I haven't had to spend any more money. I've had a little bit more practice with the welding gear, and I can leave the options open so that if I do get some more practice, which I still like to do, I can get the tank to fill the whole area. But for the time being, get some straps which I've got somewhere, tie that in, and we now have got water, got a fridge, got cooking, got all the ingredients for, yes, you guessed it, tea. Right, I want to test something out to do with cooking. I've had this for ages, and you will have seen these before, I think. It's an Omnia oven thing that's used for camping, because now I don't have a regular oven. I still want to occasionally be able to bake things. So if you haven't seen these before, it comes in several bits. There's a bottom bit that goes directly on the stove over the gas. Then there's a aluminium bit that goes on next. There's a little wire thing to keep food directly from the bottom, but you might fill that with casserole type stuff. You can get a silicone rubber mat if you want to bake muffins, etc., or a cake or dough, sort of non-stick. And also there's a lid. Now it comes like this, but what I've done is I've actually fitted one of these temperature gauges on, which has got the probe, so I just drilled another hole and put that on. I am actually going to use it to make muffins with this on and these little things. You can actually get one of those red things that goes in there, and they cost about £40 or something, whereas these cost very little and they're reusable silicone. So let's see how this goes. To reduce as many variables as possible, I'm going to use this magic stuff which I've never used before. Betty Crocker's Wild Blueberry, artificially flavoured. That's nice, it sounds delicious, doesn't it? Muffin and quick bread mixed with a can of real blueberries. There's a can of real blueberries in there, with a sell-by date that's completely indecipherable. No? Oh, here we go. These are good to take on a boat. December 1928, December 2028, I think, is when those expire. And it's got a load of mix and stuff. I won't go too much into detail in this. I'll just basically, you mix everything together with some water, with some oil, and eggs. Oh no, I've got to get eggs. I've been negotiating with the chickens. I might be a while. Girls, 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 girls. I need 2 eggs. Look, I've got some food. Food. Come on. Food for eggs. Food for eggs. Well, I did manage to get 2 eggs. Initially the chickens were insisting that 1 egg was enough, and then one of the other ones told her off and said, no, you've got to say it in a French accent, so apparently 1 egg is enough. No idea what they're talking about. But I got 2. Cost me an arm and a leg. Fresh from free range chickens with an attitude. It's like doing thickened epoxy, isn't it? So that is thoroughly mixed in, and then it says gently. What does it say? Gently stir in blueberries. I guess the trick here is simply to distribute them. Actually, that's a reasonable amount of blueberries. Very often when you get these mixed packets, they're a little bit sort of stingy. And while I've been doing this, the oven, this thing is great actually, it's temperature gauge, it's now saying, it went straight up to 300 degrees C, I need it at 275. It's now gone down a bit, so I turned it down a little bit too far. But it does seem to be reasonably okay to regulate. Of course I didn't bring any oven gloves. As I said, I didn't bring any oven gloves. So, we've got loads of batter left over. I don't think I can fit all of these in. Let's fit as many in as I can. Ouch. Let's pop this out. Put that back on. Set timer for 15 minutes. It says 15 to 20, but that's going quite hot now. Oh, it's dropped right down. Lifting the lid off, it's dropped that right down, but I'm pretty sure that's going to get up quickly. Right, I don't know if I even recorded the last bit, but I took this off to have a quick look at them, and they look pretty good to me, to be quite honest. And what I was saying is that, if I didn't say it before, when this one is on about a 2, that gives a temperature of about 200 on this thing. Whether that is actually a temperature of 200 or not, I don't know, but I tend to cook most things at 200. So I've turned that off, I'm going to take those off, then I'm going to put the next batch in. Eagle-eyed viewers will notice that yes, I have bought myself a new kettle which is much bigger. I actually couldn't fit this size on the old stove, and I'm quite pleased that I can fit both of these on here, so that is quite a substantial upgrade. Again, I've got that on 2 for the second batch, and that is actually staying pretty steady at about 425 degrees C, which is about 220 degrees C, about 425 degrees Fahrenheit, which is absolutely perfect. I'm going to leave the next batch on for 20 minutes rather than 15 minutes, and the other one's cooling down, so I'm going to have one of them with a cup of coffee. I'm actually making coffee rather than tea, and see how that tastes. So let's just wait for the kettle to boil. Come on, kettle. Shouldn't watch it, should I? And through the magic of video editing, there it is. This boils actually quite quickly on this. I do like this Origo stove. Oh, it's a nice whistle actually. I've cleaned it out, it's the first time I've used it. That's a decent whistle. Wow. Nice one. Right, cup of tea and a muffin. Did I say tea just now? I meant coffee. I'm having a cup of coffee and a muffin. Obviously that's just the first trial. There's bits of this that are a little bit more cooked than others. I didn't put enough muffin mix in. I normally wouldn't use the mix. If you want a really good recipe for one of these stoves, by the way, I'll put a link to it below, but Drake Paragon ages ago did a fantastic cinnamon roll recipe, really elaborate, really fantastic, and cooked it in one of these. So it tastes like a blueberry muffin. Actually, it tastes very nice. The blueberries are really nice. I think having those canned blueberries did make a difference, and I did drain them well, so it's not too mushy. So, do you know what? That's okay. For a first go, it's amazing that it worked at all. So I'm quite pleased with that, but obviously I want to be able to make bread with it. I've seen people make sort of casseroles with them, all sorts of things. I didn't use the oven much before anyway. I occasionally used it for pizza, but I'm just going to have sort of ring-shaped pizzas from now on, I guess. So, Right, second batch is in, it's got 3 minutes, then a third batch, and that should be it. Yeah, that went quickly. Guess who forgot to press the microphone button or switch the microphone on again? I think what I'm basically saying here is that's where the heat's coming out of, that's what I cooked it in, fairly obvious, and obviously here we have the muffins that I made. I think the point I'm trying to make is maybe I should have used that red ring thing and actually made a muffin cake, and then I could have done it in one batch rather than 3 batches. But do you know what? Despite the fact that there hasn't been an awful lot of content this month in terms of DIY and getting the boat ready, I really enjoyed this. Just spending time on Serenity was very relaxing, very enjoyable, very therapeutic, because this is the type of thing I want to do when I actually have Serenity on the water. And it has been the most horrendous last week or so for all sorts of reasons, which I might talk about, or I might not. I'm really not sure. But anyway, all I can say is let's see you in November. Hope you're all safe, well and healthy, and thank you very much for watching. See you soon.